Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we get started, I might sound a little bit nasally and sick because I'm sick. But in this video, I wanted to make a little bit of like a very basic guide to setting up and a few uses of the manual engine controls in War Thunder in realistic battles. I don't play any sim. So to start off, we'll go into controls here, and if you've tried this before and you go down to manual engine control, it'll only have the toggle engine, prop feathering, and extinguisher. So to get to the full MEC settings, you have to go over to full reel controls and then just click that again, and you'll have all of your keybinds right here. So our main ones are going to be propeller pitch, mixture, and the radiators and the toggle supercharger, which I'm actually going to change that really quick to 0 on my number pad. So these are all mapped over to my number pad. But let's go into the propeller pitch axis just to show you guys what to do. So you have your increase and decrease value. I have that on 7 and 8. And relative control is enabled. Now, what relative control is going to do, make sure you go back to mouse aim before you go back into it. But what relative control is going to allow you to do is basically select a specific percentage. So my propeller pitch is at 100%, 84%, 56, etc. Whereas if we go back in and deselect relative control, get back here. So when I press 8, it'll go to 100. When I let go of it, it'll go to 50. And 7 will bring it down to 0%, and you have to hold it to keep it at that value. Whereas with relative control enabled, you just select the percentage and it will stay there. So you can also, where is it? Hang on. Relative control. And the sensitivity, I have mine at 50%, but you can adjust that to your own preferences, kind of like how you can adjust your scroll wheel sensitivity. It's kind of the same deal. So let's get back in here. Just make sure that you hit relative control for all of the axes. So mixture, propeller pitch, and radiators. And you will also have to bind the auto prop pitch to a key as well. So I have mine bound to the 9 key, and same for the auto radiators, and that's the plus key on my number pad. So RPM control of the turbocharger, I do have that set up, but this is using those controls is way beyond my skill level, and that's mostly for guys that are playing in sim. So I have the automatic control of the turbocharger set up as well, but with P47s and P38s, for example, most of the time you'll be flying an auto engine without manual engine controls, so you won't even need to worry about half of this stuff. And then toggle supercharger, which will change your supercharger gear. Oh, hang on, and remember to go back to mouse aim. We'll close that out, and I believe that, yep, you can adjust the mixture on the P47. So while we're here on the ground, the mixture starts out at like 60%. So the lower the percentage, the less fuel or the lower the percentage, the more lean the engine is going to run. So at lower altitudes, you can stay around 60. I don't really mess around with the mixture too much because, like I've said before, that's very advanced for me, and not being able to see the parameters in third-person view, which is what I mostly play, I don't really worry about that much. But as far as radiators, you can see on the P47 we have the cowl flaps, which is part of the standard radiator, even though it's an air-cooled engine. So we'll just go ahead and close those up, and you can see that the radiator flaps at the rear of the fuselage will open and close with the normal radiator as well. And if you look down, where the secondary color is, the gray right there, that is where your oil radiator is on the P47. So we'll close that, and it might be really hard to see, but we'll open it back up. So there it is right there. Now, one of the ways that you can use manual engine controls is with climbing and just super simple auto prop pitch, and leave your radiators wide open just so that you can use wet for a little bit longer. I think I might need to adjust my mixture up a little bit. So we'll raise the gear, but that's one aspect of it, is using it to keep your radiators open at 100% all of the time. But let me climb to 3,000 meters, and I'll show you guys something that you can do in the P47 and the P38 with the prop pitch. So I'm going to go back into auto. That's usually what I do, especially if I'm in a climb. It's just easier for the game to manage the engine for me. I don't have to think about it that much. But let me get up to 3,000, and I'll show you guys a little trick with the prop pitch. Okay guys, here we are at 3,100 meters, but as you can see, my engine's getting a little warm and my oil's getting a little warm. So what I'm going to do is toggle manual engine control, engage wet, which on this P47 and all the P47s in game, they're all equipped with water injection. So WEP is water injection. What I'm going to do is toggle the auto prop pitch and turn it up to, let's try 80%. So that's going to bring the RPM of the motor down, and we'll go ahead and close the cowl flaps, and we can close the oil radiator to oh come on, 50%. So basically what I'm doing here is just making the, oh hang on, I gotta sneeze. Anyways, I'm gonna turn my mixture up just a little bit as well. What I'm doing here is just making the engine run more efficiently, and I'm just using the water injection to a fuller potential compared to whenever War Thunder, the game, you know, is controlling the engine. So it's going to raise the RPM and cause the engine to overheat. So, I mean, my engine is still warm, but it's definitely not as bad, and I can honestly lower the prop pitch down even more and gain speed, even though I am in kind of a shallow dive right there. But that's basically the first way that I've been using manual engine controls, and I forget who left the comment, but it was on my original P47 video, which was an absolutely butchered video, but they actually in a way encouraged me to look up how to use the manual engine controls, and here we are. So if you want a little bit more detailed look at them, you guys know that I love watching Defyn, and he actually has a pretty great video on how to set them up and how to use them. But really quick, before we do end the video, I want to show you guys one more way that I use MEC, and it's going to correlate with my next upload per se. So let me go in and switch into that plane, and I'll catch you guys in a second. Alrighty guys, so yes, I do know that I just spoiled the next video, but this is important to this video and the next one. So before we take off, while I'm at 0% throttle, I'm going to toggle my auto propeller pitch, and I'm just going to go to 100%. I'm going to turn auto mode back on. Now basically, what I have just done is created an air brake for a plane that does not technically have an air brake. Now that's only really applicable in the way that I'm about to show you to the BF-109s, the F4 or the F series, the G series, and the 109K. So let me get to a pretty decent height, because you do need a decent amount of speed for this to work properly. I mean, it can work at low speeds, it's just not as drastic of a loss of speed. So let me climb up to altitude, and while I'm doing that, I will do a little research on why the 109 propeller is a lot different than like the P47 propeller. Because in the P47, just for example, I'm going to level out here, we'll go to 100%. If you're at 100% throttle in the P47 and your propeller pitch is at 100%, your engine won't overspeed, so it won't say high max RPM. But on the 109, you'll see right there, it sure will. So let me look up why it does that, and I'll catch you guys here in a second. Alrighty guys, we are at a pretty decent altitude here, so unfortunately it's pretty late, and I couldn't find exactly what it was called that made the BF-109 prop different, but I'm gonna link Defyn's video and Adamtheenginerd's video in the description. I'm not affiliated with them, but they give a lot more information about this subject and do a little deeper dive into it. So let's just roll over really quick and get into a pretty steep dive. We'll put the power on, and remember that my propeller pitch is still at 100%, so I'm sure that most of you have seen this already. So throttle down to 0 and just hit your auto or manual engine control, and you basically have a way to keep yourself from overspeeding. So that's pretty handy, especially against planes like Yaks that can't do that. You can just get up to like 700 kilometers an hour, hit the air brake, and slow down, and they can't do that, and they're probably going to rip a wing off. So that's a tactic that I have been able to incorporate a little bit when flying the F4 and the G6 and the K a little bit. But that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. So as always, if you enjoyed watching, leave a like down below, and if you have any War Thunder tips or planes that you want to see me fly, leave them in a comment, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on all my War Thunder content, and we'll catch you in the next one.